Welcome everyone to Docu.Text 06, the 6th annual Documentary Film Festival for the National Library of Israel. Good evening from Jerusalem. We will begin in roughly 3 minutes. We will be hosting the documentary film creator Anat Zuria, who will be talking with the creator of the film You Only Die Twice, Deri. For our Zoom viewers, you are most welcome to turn your cameras on. Regretfully, we cannot permit opening microphones at this time. But if you have any questions, please type them in the chat room, and we'll do our best to answer what we can during the event. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all in about 2 minutes now. Welcome everyone to Docu.Text 06, the 6th annual Documentary Film Festival from the National Library of Israel. And good evening from Jerusalem. The event will begin now in just a few seconds. We are hosting the documentary film creator Anat Zuria, who will be talking with the creator of the film You Only Die Twice, Mr. Deri. For our viewers on Zoom, you are welcome to turn your cameras on. Regretfully, we cannot permit opening microphones. But if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer what we can during the event. Thank you very much, and enjoy. Anat.
Hello, and welcome to Docu.Text, the Documentary Film Festival at the National Library of Israel. For the first time, this festival goes international, and we hope you are all enjoying the rich programs that we created for you. My name is Anat Zuria, and I'm happy to be talking today with the filmmaker of the You Only Die Twice, Deri. Some technical messages before we are starting our talk. Those who watch us by Zoom, we will not be able to allow opening microphones, but you are welcome to write questions in the chat, and we will address them towards the end of the conversation. This event is filmed and recorded and will be uploaded to the event page of on the festival website, so that it will be available for viewing by anyone who wants to. So we finished the formal element, and now let's
and now
enjoy.
To reality, yes.
Yeah, let's enjoy.
Hello, Anat. Really glad to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm also, I just told you that I enjoyed to see second time your fantastic, beautiful, so I would say surprising, like feature in a way, film.
Thank you so much.
And I want to tell you that, watching it the second time, I'm coming. Some of my origin, not all, but my grandmother is from Austria. So it was very, kind of a very personal, also from a personal point of view, it was, some very touching in a way, all this comic tragedy, thriller, whatever, evolving there. So I want to ask you, you are a very established filmmaker by yourself, and you were, in terms of identity, you were researching your own identity, right? And I want to
More
speak
than
about
once.
this. Right, right. And so I want to speak about this collaboration with Yair Lev, that's coming from a very different background.
Yeah.
He did also personal filming, also researching, also researching his identity. So tell me about this kind of collaboration, creative collaboration.
Well, first of all, thank you for hosting me that nicely and reminding me, many of my subjects that I'm dealing with in my work. So I think at the times that I dealt with, the personal views in my films, I always felt that it needed to be connected to a very big other subject. If it was in, for example, You Only Die Twice, which is the one we will talk about, it was only because I thought that Yair's story should be there because it has a lot to do with the huge story that we're telling. When it was about my film, for example, Say Amen, it's a story where for who doesn't know or didn't watch it, it is a story that I revealed my sexuality, homosexual sexuality in front of my family, religious family, for 5 years. And I couldn't actually sleep at nights when I filmed it and dealt with what I'm actually doing, and I needed to explain again and again to myself, why am I doing it? Why am I exposing myself? Why am I telling such a personal story? And actually, since it was in 2005, I can tell you now, 15 years later, that I do know why I did it. I do know that it helps so many people. I do know that so many people actually went to their own voyage, research,
Right.
And they always tell me that, the fact that they went with me in the story to my journey helped them to learn a lot about what they need to do in their lives.
Right.
If to take another example, the previous film that I've produced and directed, it was one with a personal also journey, but it also tells the story of our country, about the historical roots.
Identity. Right.
Yes, and I'm talking, of course, about my film Salah Pozer Eretz Israel in English, and I think many people learned that this film actually tells the story from a personal point of view, because it has a lot to do with the journey that this country actually have been led to. So
So this
I
is
think
why sorry that I'm doing something very Israeli and not very polite, but I'm jumping actually to a point that really caught me. You are...
But I'm not sure I answered your question. You're asking about, the connection between me and Yair Lev. I think it has a lot to do with this topic, with doing something that is personal, but also has a lot of other points of view, and it's all being combined to something that tells a unique story. And, since I have also a heart of, choosing films in some committees, cinemas committees, I meet so many stories of people who just want to expose themselves, and I'm asking them, what is the other reason?
Right.
And since I'm doing that, I think, what I'm telling you is what I'm telling them all the time. You have to find the more abstractical reason that actually sends you to reveal your own personal story.
Right. And for me it was very interesting. You two very, one of the most creative and honest and filmmakers of Israel, you and Yair Lev. and there is something very independent about both of you. And, and I thought about what actually, what was the point that you decided, I'm going to do this film? Because as we know, a documentary film, it's a journey. Many times it's like climbing a mountain. You know that you do the first step and you don't know what will happen exactly. You want to go to reach and to something there to end it, that it will be a whole journey. But so my question is actually, what was your first question, and what did you thought joining him will be the story? And then I will ask you were the surprises, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very much interested in the beginning. What caught you?
Well, it's the story and the cinematic language. I think, after almost 20 years of working in the industry, in our industry, I felt like doing a documentary that would tell the story from a different angle, a different approach. And I wanted it from the very beginning to be a thriller.
Right.
And it means that you have many tools to use while documenting the story. It means that, this whole story happened in the past, in the Holocaust, in this period of time, but you want to bring the audience to feel that everything is happening now. Everything we are revealing, at least, is happening now.
Right.
And
but for you, joining him, when he came to you, right, and he said, "Wow, I have a great idea. What did he tell you? I have a great story." What was actually made you decide? I'm going to join him to this journey.
I will tell something that I still feel that is very funny. I hope Yair will not kill me while doing that. But when we just began working about this film, he felt that he would do it as as a filmmaker that sits behind the camera and ask questions. And I said, no, you're going to be the character, the main character who actually leads the story. And he didn't know what I mean, and he didn't know how to do it. So, we went us together to a journey that actually taught us so much about, this whole new concept of working together. Since, we did a different story about Yair's grandfather. It's called Hugo II.
Right.
It's the story about his, the last years of the Holocaust survivors, and it brings up so many important topics. But it was him standing, he was also there, but he was there in front of the camera, but he needed all the time to be the director that could also sit behind the camera and control the scene, control the narrative, and bring it to the front in a way that, in how he learned to do it. He's teaching so many, thousands of students in cinema for decades, you can say now. And for him, for the first time, to be a character in a thriller, a documentary thriller, is something that he
never experienced.
Never imagined that
he will go for it.
Yeah,
right.
And, I remember us sitting in a coffee in Vienna, and he brought a whole, big news notebook, and he showed me all the questions, and he said, "Yeah, I will sit and I'll ask the questions." I was also the cameraman, so he said, "You will stand, next to me, and we'll do it as we do it usually."
Yeah.
And I said,
"No way,
no way," because I felt immediately that we were about to lose all, most of the
story
potential.
Yeah.
Of doing it in a different way this time. And regarding your question, I really felt that this time, since we had our past with other films, it could be the first time that we can actually go to a different journey when we define our cinematic language differently. And this is, of course, part of the reason. And I felt that the story, when he came to me and told me, listen to that, my mother got a phone call and she inherited 1,000,000 shekels, and later on she got a phone call and another phone call, and some lawyer tells her that she can never get it. It will not be hers because they found a
So now
different death
I
certificate.
jump into a
And,
question.
I really felt, since I'm dealing with so many stories, some of them became films, I felt immediately that there's something here that we should fish and dig and try to and we actually went to the first journey of filming with our money. I went with him, with delightful and joyful. We were there for I think 1 week of filming.
Where,
and
in
it
Vienna?
was in
Or-
Vienna.
Oh, really?
And just trying to dig the first hooks of the film,
Right.
and we immediately felt that there's a potential of a huge story. And I, talking about a huge story is also about, for us, trying to find a way to tell, to not to make another, sorry for, putting it in this, under this definition, but not another Holocaust documentary,
Right.
but to try to find a way to tell the story from a very different angle. And this is what I eventually, 5 years later, we could really feel that this is what we did.
So I want to ask you about that aspect because, with our craft, it's like many times it's about improvising because we are following the plot. But still, many times you can see, scripted, you can say scripted, you and Yair Lev were scripting it. And so I want to ask you about that, about the script part in documentary filming, which you have many different approach. And I know for myself, I can approach different films with different script, concept. So what here was your concept in terms of developing the plot? And also, many times people think, the audience thinks that, we are just following them and no real directing in terms of, we know that everything is directing, but in terms that we are not controlling, we're just following it nicely or this way or this angle, but, So I want actually to ask you how much you were actually designing or writing this plot.
Well, I'll begin with the most important thing to say. We didn't know what will happen. I think what was really influencing me, my work also as a producer, is the fact that I went to a real challenge without knowing what will happen eventually. Because what we knew at the very beginning is just what I've told you, that there's someone that stole the identity of his grandfather. We didn't know why. We didn't know if we will find eventually some connection to between the one that stole the identity and the real grandfather. And we also suspected, I at least suspected, that maybe there's a motivation, a dark motivation,
Right.
also in other identity, which was, I was embarrassed to bring up, but we could really actually know, and I as a producer, that we are going to be challenged here. And I really, since in each journey that we went to, I felt again and again the potential of the story and how it grows more and more. Then I took the risk. And the risk was, for us, to maybe tell a very interesting story, a thriller with a unique language, cinematic language. But the risk was that we will not find the real answer because, it's a story that happened 60 years
It's
ago.
a lot of research in terms, and you need a lot of
And you need to work, with so many
Right.
researchers and
Right.
so many
Mhm.
archives and so
Right.
many people that you need, people that can help you to research it, but not too many people that actually knows the story because they were there. And I think what eventually helped us get to the end or reach the end is the fact that so many people loved the story, as I loved it at the very beginning.
You mean about
and jumped with us to this journey and helped us, because they felt that it's a unique story that need to be told, to be done, to reach the end with the final answers that we were searching so badly.
Right. So but I want again to ask you about, in terms of script, what elements in this plot what did you
this
what
whole
did you
answer was about the risk that we took. It's just to help you understand, as a documentary filmmaker yourself, that we didn't know what will happen. So this, when you know that then eventually you understand that it was nothing was faked. And now to your answer, to your question, I think what was really stunning for Yair to understand or to realize is that we can do this film in a different way. It means that you will not sit, as I said before, behind the camera and ask questions. You will be there trying to find the answer while I'm filming. And sure, there were times that we knew in advance what would be the answer in the archive, but in every documentary that I know, you make your research and then you bring it in front of the camera. It could be with you asking questions about what you already know, and in a thriller, it could be in a different way. It could be with showing that everything is happening now.
Right, but I feel that in this film,
it doesn't mean that things are being scripted. There's a great difference.
But here I want to again challenge you about the scripting of a documentary movie, because for instance, let's speak about the protagonist, right? About the characters. So you actually helped Yair becoming a character. And and in that sense, I feel I also, as a filmmaker, many times I say that I'm directing my characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about manipulating, and if there is manipulation while you do that. And this is as I know that you also teach or taught students. It's the first lesson in our studies. So I think.
But I don't say manipulation. You can say it. It's okay. But I actually say, which each character, when you filming someone, you can't describe all aspects of his life. So you choose. Through choosing, through talking with them, through, evolving, looking or searching with them, specific actions that we are filming, because many things we are not filming, right? So in this kind of making, we're actually directing them, right? Because, you can choose, do that or that. So I just want to go to the characters, how would you describe the different characters, and which characters actually were surprising for you? Because I mean, it's clear that Yair and his mother are lovely characters and are giving the personal element. But then through the journey, you had many very surprising, I think, decision. I loved your decision in terms of evolving, developing other characters. And may you tell about that? Because, this is part of the script, deciding that this will be the character and we are going to film him more and give him more,
All right, let me tell you a little bit about that, because just, one sentence that needs to be said here. I think when we talk about manipulating, when I said that this is the first thing that you teach students, I'm always saying that, the cut in the editing room, the first one and the last one is, you can see it as a manipulation, because
Completely.
you're editing one shot with another one, and then you make a significance to the to the shots, and
Right.
eventually it comes to the viewer comes to the place that he wants to understand your motivations also.
Yeah.
What are you trying to tell us as a filmmaker? Why you do you're doing this cut in the editing room? So it's a whole we can
It's a
talk.
whole
We
discussion.
yeah, it's a whole
You
discussion,
can
and
talk about it because it's very interesting.
in
You
this
did some very
in this
interesting
story
editing
it becomes even more interesting.
decision.
But I will say that regarding the characters, when we actually researching, and we're doing this film for 5 years of researching, and I have to say to to give the credit to Nico Hoffinger, which did a huge work here, and I'm talking about trying to reveal.
Can you tell about how it was to work with him?
Yeah,
with
sure.
Nico?
First of all, Nico is not just a guy that went to cinema studies and become he is first of all, he's a historian.
Right.
He works as an historian, and he was working with the Jewish community in Innsbruck. Mm-hmm. And they were the ones that actually, at the very beginning, told us that you have to speak with him, and he will tell you why this story is unique. What really happened with this? Did he really steal the identity? How did he become the head of the Jewish community in Innsbruck?
Right.
How did he fake it? What was really his motivation? As he everything that he knows, because he was before us there to try to research the motivations and the actions and everything that happened. And I could really feel immediately that this is the guy that could actually work with us and learn while we're walking and doing our shooting days and everything. Learn the cinematic language, or learn what we are doing in terms of cinema, a documentary. Mm-hmm. But since we felt that the real challenge here is the story, and of course the characters that we will talk about in a minute. First of all, he was the one to find most of them.
Oh,
he
really?
he was the one to actually tell us that if we're taking the family that he joined, the fake Bechinsky, so that he could actually learn everything that you have to learn in this kind of research about all the siblings in the family. And he was the one to find the grandson of the grandson of the brother of Ilza, which was the
Andre.
Ilza, which was the wife,
no,
the wife of Ernst Bechinsky, the fake Ernst Bechinsky.
Yeah.
And
his name is Andre, right?
Yeah, Andreas.
Andreas, yeah.
And what happened is that I could really immediately feel that it brings us another unique approach when we actually learn that we have the two sides of the family of Ernst Bechinsky. There's the one that his grandfather's identity was stolen, and it became Ernst Bechinsky, and there's the one that actually knew the Ernst Bechinsky that from the real family.
Right.
If you can say a real family. So, our motivation eventually, and it has a lot to say about, the choosing of the characters is what I said before, that we don't want to do, to produce another Holocaust film. I felt that we need to take this story to other areas. And when I felt, when I realized that there is a love story eventually between the Jewish guy Manek, who was the one that actually stole the identity. This is also something a huge revealing after years of work. and from the other side, the one that actually was a part of a Nazi family, and you go, in terms of, in a long period of time, you get to understand that, there were many times, you can see many times, it was really tough to actually learn that, because, there are not really evidence, instead of, learning about things in the archives, for example. But you get to see and to learn that it was a very unique love story, because they both risked so much, in their lives and in their families, and this was, I think, the at this stage I could really feel that we can tell the story. This was when I talked before about the potential of the story, and I had the feeling that, eventually it could not end up with a technical reason, for all this stealing the identity. There was something deeper than that in the story.
Yeah, but I want to ask you about. I think you did. I think very unique. Speaking about unique story, but I felt that both of you did a lot of independent and unique decision, and I want to point out what I found is a very beautiful in terms of the script and in terms of the filming itself and the cinematography. First of all, I really loved all the different characters that evolved, and the fact that it was not just a story of the family itself, because it could be portrayed as just, a family drama, right? Yeah. So, but it was not, that was not the issue, it's very unique, again, because many times when you have, the dark secrets of a family, and what we'll discover and so on and forth, but it wasn't that. Eventually. Mm-hmm. So the other characters, for me, it was like about also the people that also today are in a way hunted. And in that term, I felt that the archive, we are now in an archive, right, of Israel, the National Library. And the film, in terms of location, is mostly in archives. And you film them beautifully.
Thank you so much.
And also the characters, of Andres and Nico are very significant for me. I loved them. I loved the way this kind of, I say, a bonding, a very special and unexpected. You wouldn't expect it, and the tone that I felt that you find in this film, which is very much you and very much Yair, which is, you have a feel for the dark, but also you have a lot of sense of humor. And I want to point out that it's such a beautiful masterpiece in that term, because it's very hard to achieve with this kind of tragic, story, to achieve also so many humoristic tone moments. So I want to ask you about what you were surprised through this plot? What surprised you?
First of all, just to, regarding you mentioning, me working in archives, I think I have to tell you that, in this period of time, I was filming two projects. This one, as we talk about, was for 5 years. And I think it meanwhile, for 6 years, we also did the ancestral scene. Salach Eretz Israel, and it also was also shot in archives,
right?
And I felt like I'm telling two stories that I can find parallel issues that could be combined to a larger story that tells you said that we're sitting here now. Maybe we will be the story of a different. For a filmmaker that will find out something about maybe our talk, and it would be the story, tomorrow.
Yeah.
But my team that works with me knows that when I need a location, they know that eventually they will try to search in so many places, and eventually I'll tell them, let's go to an archive. and and it's really a place that I could feel that you know, the details that is hidden in those places is, you know, you're taking steps, and you can really feel, you know, as a guy that works as a filmmaker, that there's so many stories, secrets hidden there, and I love it. You know, it's something that I in this story, He Only Died Twice, I felt that again and again when we reach those archives, it brings, you know, the story to a place that actually could show the motivations of you know, so many people in a dark period of time, and you know, so many people that needed or felt that they have to give up their identity because they needed to survive.
Right.
And we were in so many places that you knew that, you know, those details hidden there are the stories of those people who actually gave up their own identities.
Right.
It's so cruel to be in this position, you know, when you have to, you know, when you understand in this period of time that for surviving, you need to, you know, to steal an identity of a different person and live his story. Yeah. And for decades.
Know, but what you did brilliantly, you and Yair, of course, was going back to the surprising part. I mean, again, you would expect just to focus on the family elements, but what you did, and I think give it a touch of I think something very universal in a sense for me, that you see that he's going with this personal questioning what really actually was happening there. Now, I must tell you, you know, it's a great story, but you know, what the heck, in a sense. You say, you know, it's not that it's revealing something that we didn't know in terms of historical point of view. Mm-hmm. What I really felt was so brilliant that actually you were talking about the present, about how people are, you go into this journey, and suddenly on the journey itself, you find these amazing people, and they become part of it. And there you see kind of the human spirit in a sense, and how everyone at last are connecting and need to, in a sense, confront their past. It's grandpa, it's grandma, people we thought we know them, but then we understand that we don't know anything about them. Sure. And I think for me anyway, this friendship, which you wouldn't expect, you know, suddenly someone in the archive become obsessed about it and joining you. And this type of friendship, you know, I felt it was very touching for me anyway, and very surprising.
Know, I will answer that, or I will tell you something that, you know, was very enlightening for me. I think when I was there filming, and, you know, I was there with Yair when we did, and I produced his personal film, Hugo 2. And in this film, I as a Moroccan guy, you know, a boy of, you know, the youngest in 10 brothers and sisters family from Yerucham, I've grew up to a very different culture than what I've got to learn in Yair's family.
Right.
It's a whole different family, culture-wise, atmosphere-wise,
communication probably. Everything.
You can see everything in Hugo too, and you can see the complete opposite in my film in Sayamen, for example, or in the ancestral scene. And I've learned a lot about his father, and about his fear of actually losing the story, losing the part of your identity as a Holocaust survivor. And Yair, as a second generation to that, I think, became a very interesting character in life. We had so many discussions about it, and later on in this film, when we met Andreas,
Right, which is a great character.
yeah, a person, which you can say a second or third generation from a Nazi family.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could really feel, and it took a while until I brought it in front of Yair, but I could really feel that we can also tell a story talking about unique Holocaust stories that I know that there's a great risk that people will be angry on, and maybe Yair's father, if he was alive, would be very angry about it. But we have an opportunity to tell the second or third generation of the Nazis, because it was so complicated, for them to, if from one point of view you can say it looks like really it happened naturally, but I know that for Yair to be the one that actually reveal parts of the secrets in Andreas' lives. Of course, it brought them together, and they became closer. And there was a friendship eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that for a second generation of a Holocaust survivor to be the one that actually brings up this topic in a documentary that says, there could be a friendship between those two parts of history, and sure, and I met people that were angry about it, and
really?
They were telling me
really?
how this is not something that we can watch, because if as you can also learn in the film what about the role of this Nazi family, what they really did in the Holocaust, in camps. You get to learn what the brothers of Ilza did, and it's not it's learning about it in the archives was not it was a real tough day. I remember it quite well, holding the camera, and Nico and Andreas is reading and more details about the story of this family. But later on, a week after, a month after, a year after, since we had 5 years of working on this film, you could really learn that eventually, if the motivations comes from the right place, yes, you can bring the story to a place that there's a friendship between those two parts of history, and it make it this part and the other part that you've mentioned before about the unique love story between Manek and Ilza back then, and nowadays the friendship between those two guys made the story so it influenced me in a way that I could really feel that I've suffered in 5 years. Not all the journeys were joyful, joyful, but I felt that eventually that I know it brought me to the this I've told you about it in the first minute of our conversation about the moment that I felt that when he told me the story that there's a great risk, but I felt that the potential would lead us eventually to a meaningful play, and it happened. And it happened eventually. I could really feel it, when we've learned about what happened between Manek and Ilza, and what I've saw happening in front of my camera, happening between Andreas and Yair.
Right. So I want to ask you about, you were just telling us, in each documentary movie, it's kind of an adventure, because you were pointing it that we don't know actually how it will evolve. We don't know what will be the end. Soon I want to ask you about the ending of this film, but I want to ask you about the challenges, and did you had any doubts or fears, and what were the moments that were challenging, or you had, I don't know, what kind of conflicts you had through the making of this movie?
There was a period of time which was, I think, a long one. I think maybe more than a year, that I, sending me and Yair, Nico, to so many archives, to try to, dig for details about the past and the childhood of this manic who stole the identity. What's the motivation there? This was a real our motivations as the creators became, this
to understanding
this question. We didn't know that we cannot.
What was his motive actually? Why he went
without eventually learning about that? And in some in this period of time, a year, that he was coming back with technical reasons. I found about this in this certification, and here it was most of the time clues about technical that could lead you eventually to suspect that the motivation maybe could have been a technical one. And I suffered badly as a producer, because I said maybe eventually the end of the story would be without the real motivation,
understanding why he was doing it,
something that I really felt at the very beginning that we could
solve this puzzle.
And me and Yair, we began trying to thinking about different ways of scripting the end, or trying to figure out a different way that we could have wanted to predict. And I think, answering a question, this was the real time that I was really concerned about our work, and about
how it will evolve,
the money that we're spending while doing so many
filming
journeys. But I have to tell you something about this.
And I want to tell you, for me it's very important that people will know it, that many times with us, with our kind of cinema, it's a lot about our resilience. It's also about, do we have someone to back up us in terms of the money? But many times it's also our resilience to wait for the right moment, and to have the time actually to follow, and to get all the twist till we feel that we have the closure, right?
And of course, you should add the fact that you're not working alone. You're working with people who actually brings the money. And
and you have a lot of pressure. Here in Israel, it's a miracle. I mean, I want to really
chapeau. In this case, it was from Israel, and also from the Austria, because it was a co-production between Israel and Austria. And as you get, doing more and more journeys, you could feel that the possibilities are being, there are less and less possibilities for you to actually resolve this whole mystery. So I think we had great luck too.
Great luck, but you did a wonderful, in terms of the cinema, all the aspects of the cinema, the cinematography.
Thank you so much.
The way you had so much intimacy with all the characters, the choosing of the character that were evolving through this journey. So I really loved it.
Thank you, Anat.
And now, and I want to go back to our audience, and so I see here one question: how did Mano's sister in California and her sister survive the Holocaust? Do you know? And have you heard any more from either of them about their brother? So they want to know more about Mano itself.
They're talking about the friend of Mano that we...
Right. Sorry, yes.
That, they were living in the same building, apartments, and in the same also class. So there were three friends that actually were there together. And what we've learned, I think one of the real breakthroughs that we had is that to to learn that one of those three friends went to live in California. He died, of course, but we've reached this box with, that
It's
solved
like
all this mystery.
a lottery. In terms of the commentary, right?
It's a magic. It was a magical moment.
Yeah.
And it was really tough with her, I have to say, because she couldn't understand anything that was written there in those letters because she didn't understand the language.
How old she was?
I can't really. I'm maybe 70 or 70.
This is why she couldn't film it and just send it to you by WhatsApp.
I'm not sure about that. I'm just. But I have to say that she was really troubled by the story. She for us it was really tough to communicate and actually cooperate with her.
Yeah.
But eventually, I remember us telling her, you know what? You could be a great character in this film. You have a great story that you're not aware of. But since it took months to actually cooperate and try to find a way, Nico, our researcher, was there at their home, and he was filming a lot of the taking pictures of most of those letters that we found in this box. And
really? So he went to
and he came back
California,
and told me
really?
we have the story. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So that was part of the production budget. Wow, you dealt with a lot. All right.
As
let's
I
see
said
if
before,
we have to see how did you find the archivist and the historian, that helped unfold the mystery.
We're talking about Nico?
I think so.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Maybe you can answer briefly.
Sure. Nico is we're working with the Jewish community in Innsbruck. He was the historian that actually researched the story of the presidents that were there before Ernst Bechinsky, and they when we came with the story. They had suspicions that this guy was different than they thought to be, but when we were there and asking questions about maybe now can you think about him being doing things that maybe were in a way fooling you, and then there were people that actually saying, you know what, I can really, and Nico was there, to listen to them while they say, you know what, he was a Jewish, but he knew nothing about the Jewish holidays. He knew nothing about the ceremonies. He knew nothing about Shabbat. So what kind of head
Jew
of
he was?
Yeah, he did a great job. We've talked about it before, but I will say again that I think he deserves a huge credit in this film.
All right. So do we have another question? No. All right, great. So I want to ask you for like a kind of, I could ask you so many questions, but I actually want to ask you how the film was received.
Wow, huge success. It was shown and screened in many festivals around the world. I joined some of them. Yair joined some of them. And it won the prizes of the how do you say, the award? The public award. The audience award?
Yeah,
the audience. Is it how you? Yeah.
Yes, the audience
award. So it won the audience award few times, and it actually led us to learn that the potential of the film and us bringing those topics of the Holocaust in this way connected people from all over the world. With this, eventually it was the same questions about how it's the people felt that it's greater than life. It's something that you could learn mostly in this kind of films. So when you do it, when you do those Q&As in the US, or in Europe, or here in Israel. Eventually you get to learn that, people were enlightened by those two topics, this friendship,
Unexpected, actually.
that tells the story
So
from an
surprising, yes.
unpredictable way.
Yeah, unpredictable. Yes.
And of course the story and
the story itself, the mystery,
Yeah.
the mystery,
and the thriller,
yeah.
thriller. I think coming to to what I've told you at the beginning of our conversation. This decision that made our work quite harder, quite difficult, of doing this film as a thriller eventually was something that we were so glad to learn that brought so much audience to this. So many audience.
And final question. I mean, how did Yair felt with his character? It's very, you pushed him to become a full character, and how did he felt with, when he saw himself at the rough cut? He said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I love myself. I don't know how did he feel?
After a whole journey in the editing room, when I was struggling for him to actually, leave those moments at the film that when he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's trying to really reveal things, but he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't want to feel as a character in his own film.
Right.
But I think our communication and our experience as a team that worked together about different films with different cinema languages really helped us, first of all, relying on each other and really feel that we both are doing the right thing for the film, and that I'm protecting him. Me as a friend, as a cameraman that knows him so well, I think eventually convinced him to, try to go to this journey with me. And when he was really there, it became, I think, really powerful.
Yeah. Well, I love this character, I must tell you. I mean, I feel there's something about him extremely intelligent, very human, and there, this kind of, very humoristic self-irony many times. It's qualities you don't see much today, and I want to thank you about
Thank
this
you for so many compliments,
beautiful talk and enlightening me so much. Really, I mean, for me, it's now the second time I saw it. I enjoyed it so much. And probably I will see it third time. Really? I will tell you if I reveal more. So thank you so much. And we have a finish. Right.
Thank you.
So thank you for being with us. Thank you, Deri. Docu.Text Festival is taking place until November 25 and offers you a variety of other excellent films and events. All information on the festival website. So thank you again for
thank you,
amazing
Anat, and thank you everybody in Docu.Text.
Masterpiece. For me it was, a very meaningful film. Talking, about being from Austria origin, but I love the film. I think it's very universal, and so I hope I'm looking really forward. Let's just end with
what I told the crew that next time I want to be the one that interviews you.
We'll see about that, but I'm really looking forward. I really want to ask you something. Maybe our audience also interested. Are you going to do another collaboration with Yair? Do you think? It's a possibility.
Let us think about it.
Okay.
We need. It's a good question, because what we both feel is that we need the right story, to take this decision, and let's wait for life to actually bring it.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much.